I'm Crystal Johnson, a co-host, and we have a really exciting conversation, and it's regarding Mothers Out Front. I'm sure many of you may have heard of the name but may not be too familiar, or you may have not heard of them, and now you are. We have from the Mothers Out Front in Brookline, Massachusetts, a team leader, Susan Helms Daly. Thank you so much for coming here to the Gaia Report to discuss Mothers Out Front. So welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Can you share with people about Mothers Out Front? It's my understanding that it has started in Massachusetts.
That's right. We were started a few years ago in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Oh, nice.
And it's growing so rapidly now. There are probably 10 or 12 states that have chapters now.
That's great.
And more coming online. So we have a leadership team that focuses on Massachusetts as a whole, but then individual communities, there are a lot of individual communities that have leadership teams as well. And we all work towards the state agenda, but we also have our own local agendas as well. That was
a key part of the model that I really valued when I was learning more about Mothers Out Front. You know, after I had heard about it and said, like, who are they? And knowing that nationally there are different Mothers Out Front, but in Massachusetts in each community that they really seem to value that there's targeted campaigns that are relevant and interested to each community, because even though climate change happens to all of us, there's certain issues that are really active or impact or a concern in some communities, in that the people involved can identify their goals.
Right.
And I think that makes a big difference regarding empowering people to take the lead and say, what is it that matters to you and your community?
Yeah.
So for Brookline, what are the issues that are key? What are the three that I know that you're involved in? Can you share those?
Sure. Well, so this is true of the statewide Mothers Out Front, that the three areas of focus are working on fixing gas leaks in our natural gas distribution system, preventing the development of new infrastructure around natural gas, so no new pipelines. And then finally, increasing the use of renewable energy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now for all of those, as you said, the three, they're separate, but they're also very, related.
Right.
Can you talk about what those campaigns involve and what the status is?
Sure. So for the gas leaks, that's where there's been a lot of interest and activity. So there are probably close to 16,000 gas leaks across Massachusetts.
16,000 gas leaks.
Yes. We have a very aging system.
I can imagine.
That is just full of holes, and they haven't
antiquated.
Kept up with replacing it. When they replace stretches of pipeline now, they replace it with PVC. But the old ones are a lot of different materials. Some of them are even wood, I'm told.
Imagine,
way
New
back
England.
when, they even made pipes out of wood. So, so it's really in need of updating, and it's a pretty dire situation, because the gas that's lost from that system is thought to be about 2.7% of the gas that goes through the system every year.
2.7%.
Yeah.
That's actually, it sounds like a small number, but it's actually quite large.
Exactly.
And it creates, a public health issue, environmental health issue, because it's a methane gas.
Correct.
And that has huge adverse impacts.
Right. So it's a much more potent greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide, which is kind of the more well-known
They're actually a
gas.
combination.
But it's so potent, in fact, that the emissions from the leaks in Massachusetts
Right.
have a greater contribution to global warming than all the cars that we drive in
That is
Massachusetts.
amazing.
Yeah.
So for all the efforts, in Massachusetts, from the last many years, even going back to the previous, Governor Deval Patrick, all their efforts are wonderful, but they
Right.
can be undermined
Right.
by gas leaks. And that's something that it's usually not on the radar that I have seen through all my environmental work. And it seems that if you could capture that really would profoundly increase Massachusetts' environmental, a cleaner carbon
Our
footprint.
profile,
Wow.
yes, absolutely.
So what are some of the efforts that Mothers Out Front, how are they driving that?
Right, so a big thing that, a big initiative that we do is to work with our elected officials at the state and local levels.
Nice.
We can, a lot of us are on a first name basis with our representatives now because of Mothers Out Front, and they are with us.
Right.
And so we have ongoing conversations about legislation that can be passed to support this, a quick cleanup of those leaks. And an example is in the Boston City Council last year. The Mothers Out Front worked really closely with the City Council and Matt O'Malley to develop an ordinance that resulted in, it specified that every time the roads are open in the City of Boston for some other repair, maybe the sewer or something, that the gas companies had to come in and fix any gas leaks that they could also reach at the same time. And if they didn't do that, they would, the city could withhold permits that are non-emergency permits for work that they wanted to do.
That is a great support.
Exactly.
That's a huge support. Just not only saying like when there is activity, you must come in, but then also to leverage the power of economics and to hold that to say, oh, that's great.
So it was a carrot and a stick, and it passed overwhelmingly at the Boston City Council, and Mayor Walsh signed it. The gas companies are still fighting back with some with some litigation, but we're hopeful that given the overwhelming support for moves like that, it'll actually happen. And then,
it's a great success.
And then when Boston does something like that, then it's really a model for other towns in the Commonwealth. That's happened so many times that Boston takes the lead, and then everyone else kind of follows suit. So that's one thing. Also on the gas leaks front, we held a conference last year, the Gas Leaks Allies Conference at MIT in October.
Nice.
And that was such an inspiring day because people came together from environmental groups, from the gas companies, and there were panels all day long with representatives of both sides.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Bringing us up to speed on all the collaboration that's going on with the gas companies and the environmentalists to find solutions, to better measure the gas leaks. It turns out that 50% of those gas emissions come from 7% of the gas leaks. So if we can find those so-called super emitters, and fix those,
it's a win-win.
Then it's a win-win. It's saves them money on repairs, and it has a much bigger impact on reducing greenhouse gases. So.
I do want to commend Mothers Out Front for their direct line of communication, because one of the things that I really found out about with Mothers Out Front, that I was like, what drives an organization to be effective? Because there are a lot of organizations that get started and they have a passion, but then really what allows one to grow and to be well received and then to have a nice success track record. And Mothers Out Front, to me, definitely has that. And it seemed that their communication in respect of their people and really saying, okay, they value, like, as I said, the communities to set their goals. They give you tools, it seems, to know how to understand issues, and then when you go out to talk to some of the decision makers, especially the legislative element, that side, that sector, that it's well received. And it's my understanding from in Massachusetts to like at schools and in the community, Mothers Out Front is a organization that is well respected. And I just want to commend that how the success in Boston and how it's duplicated out, it really does show, and it does matter, because rather than telling people this is how it has to be, you're really sensitive to the fact that it's people oriented, and it's people, and the people involved, they matter, and it shows in that type of model.
Right.
And as we talk about Mothers Out Front, it was started here by mothers and caretakers who were concerned about climate change and saying, wait a minute, we have children and we need to take some action. It's actually, as you had said before, it's mothers and others.
Yes.
So we do want to acknowledge that it is for everybody.
Exactly. No, you do not have to be a mother.
But I do love that mothers had said, this is not okay.
Well, I think mothers do bring a certain moral authority to the conversation. I think they're sort of respected as a voice of pragmatism and maybe thinking a few generations out, but it certainly is. It's not as though we have a monopoly on that at all. It's certainly anyone. It's mothers and others who are interested in a swift, just, and complete shift from fossil fuels to renewables.
And I love that you said, swift, because you seem to, Mothers Out Front seems to be, really able to identify strategically what needs to be done and to move forward and say, no, we need to have things move faster. This is what is needed. And I respect that a great deal. What are some of the other missions that you'd love to share?
Yeah. Well, just here locally in Brookline, we do so many, we have so many different things going on. We hold community talks at the public libraries.
And how do people find out about that?
Sure. Well, they can find out on our website or on our Facebook page, which is, if you just look on Facebook and for Mothers Out Front in Brookline, you can easily find our Facebook page, or follow us on Twitter at Brookline MOF, Mothers Out Front. So there are lots of ways to find out about those, and also the libraries would list them.
We'll post those, that's great.
Yeah, we've had great talks with local professionals who study the impact of climate change on trees, for example, or...
That's a significant issue that not many people think about, because we talk about environmental issues with public health and our water, our air, but never think about what it also does, not to other animals, but to the vegetation.
Yeah.
So what would you like to share regarding that?
Oh, yeah, that was such a great talk, and it has some paradoxical effects, actually, but I maybe shouldn't dive too deeply into those details.
I think in as far as like in Brookline, one impact with...
oh, well, sure. That, so there's the impact of climate change on trees, but then there's the impact of gas leaks on trees, which is a separate issue, but huge here in Brookline, because Brookline has lost over $1 million worth of trees to gas leaks.
That is so sad, because we love our trees. They're so old, they're beautiful, they're exquisite.
Yeah, and some of them really are these 100-year-old trees that...
so what is occurring? There are leaks, which Mother Out Front does help to flag, and they're releasing this methane
underground in the root system. So it displaces the oxygen in the soil and poisons the roots. and leads to tree death. And
Wow.
you can see the signs. I mean, I don't know how to, but people know how to identify
Right.
if a tree has died
Right.
from natural gas poisoning.
Right.
And it is really epidemic here.
Oh, that's
And,
amazing. So when that happens, what is the liability with that utility company or the responsibility with the town? How is that addressed? Because you have then a large massive tree that is dead. That's also a public health risk, and it
Right.
has to be dealt with. Can you share anything?
Well, so there has been a lawsuit from that the town of Brookline has asked for some compensation
Okay.
from the gas utilities
that's
for
great.
that. But I think that may be in the process of settling
Right.
for a lot less than $1 million.
Sure.
So there could be some compensation on the horizon,
Right.
but the key message is just let's fix them.
Yes.
And stop more tree death, because it's not just they're not just beautiful. They're important to our ecosystem
Right.
and for shade and for health and all
Yes.
kinds of reasons.
Now, it's my understanding that last spring, Mothers Out Front held an event, I believe it may be annual, regarding tagging these.
Yes.
How can people get involved? What are the steps regarding that?
Sure. That's something we've done the last 2 years, is to just tag the gas leaks that we know about, and there
Okay.
are 300 of them in
Okay.
Brookline.
Now, when you say know about, how do we know about them?
So there's another organization
Okay.
that we work closely with called HEAT,
Oh, yes.
HEET.
Okay.
And Audrey Schulman is
Okay.
the founder of that group, and that's really their wheelhouse.
I understand, they track it.
So we sort of rely on their data.
That's wonderful.
But
Good.
their data is really
Partnerships are great.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great.
Really well researched and documented. So we take their maps
Sure.
basically, and then one year we flagged the gas leaks with a little yellow plastic flag that
Okay.
had a nose on it, because you can smell
Right.
some of these gas
Oh, my
leaks.
goodness.
They're that strong. So we did that, and last year we just flagged them more with just a sign that explained what was going on. This year, what we may do, we're looking into the possibility of flagging where trees have died.
That's a really that's a great way to let people understand. Because it's one
Yeah.
thing to say like, wow, there are all these different leaks, but then say, and this is the impact that we're seeing
Yes.
from the tree death, yet alone the public health, environmental health, other issues, but here's something right here that's measurable.
Right. Right.
That is.
Yeah, so and we were talking about ways to get involved. That's certainly an activity if people want
Yes.
to be sort of out and about. We always welcome people at our house parties. We welcome people.
Tell us about the house parties.
Sure. So anyone is welcome to host a house party.
Anybody could call up who says, I'm not an environmental expert, I'm just here.
I'm just here, and I have some friends that I think
Okay.
might be interested in what you guys do. What if I have them over for brunch or just for, cheese
Right.
and crackers or whatever? Then we'll come and give a presentation,
that's
very
wonderful.
informal,
Right.
but just kind of a Q&A, and we tell you more about the work that Mothers Out Front does and how you can get involved if you would like to, and how your friends can get involved. So that is certainly a possibility for people who want to get involved.
And regarding people getting involved, because I know many people think like, what can I do? Because they may not have a certain background, or they
Right.
don't feel that certain things are not their expertise,
Right.
or it's not their personality type.
Right, right.
And it seems that with Mothers Out Front, that they really welcome like an array of saying, like, you can even
Yes.
sign a petition, you can get more signatures. If you have a certain strength, you can participate at State House events, and that they'll provide resources to help educate you to
Exactly.
be comfortable in your presence in whichever direction you want to contribute.
Sure. There are so many different levels and ways of getting involved. if you like to write, then
Oh.
writing letters to the editor for your local newspaper is welcome.
Oh, that's really nice.
If you like to talk with people, then we have climate coffees usually once a month, where you can meet other people who are coming to learn about Mothers Out Front and share what you know, or learn. That's often a first entry point for people to learn about us. If you like presenting, if you like talking to your legislator, if you like behind the scenes database management, it's
all
all
contributes.
welcome. Yeah.
Oh, that's really great, because I know that for the work that Mothers Out Front is involved in, it's driven by the people stepping up, and they seem like they're so welcoming to say, how can we make you feel very, how can you bring your strengths to contribute? And that, as I had mentioned before, that targeted communication and that strategic planning, it really ties in, and I've used the word empowered before, but Mothers Out Front really does call on the human element and says, please join. And again, I think that's why I consider Mothers Out Front to be so successful in how it's perceived by key, players. It seems from your relations with utility companies to the State House, let alone to the community, is how you communicate. But it's your people, and you draw in more people in such a nice way, and you make everybody feel welcomed and inspired and excited, and that you can have. Make a difference.
Exactly. And one of the things that first attracted me to Mothers Out Front is that it is so pragmatic.
It's great.
It's not, it's easy to get sort of depressed and paralyzed about how overwhelming this problem is. But, when you work with other people who just want to get things done, and they don't want to whine about it or fret about it. They just want to work on it, and you may not know how to work on it, but then you meet these other people and you realize, oh, I could testify at a DEP hearing, or I could show up at a rally and make a sign, or
those are huge, actually, to testify at a DEP hearing. That is wonderful.
Yeah.
Right. There is a huge gamut of things that contribute, make the sign, petition. That's wonderful. Yeah. I'll let you continue, but
it's part of. It is, I think, part of the success of the group is that there's so many different ways to participate.
And for, I think, the remaining, main campaign is, making sure that they're stopping the continued, pipeline, and trying to move, towards renewables, as well as trying to not, just trying to so much is happening with the current administration.
Yes.
And at the same time, trying to say, what, we do not want additional pipelines.
Right.
We do care about these things, and that they're critical campaigns that could seem like you're swimming upstream on a lot of issues, but they have impact and they matter, and different ways to say, like, there's still all successes because you're saying, this is not okay.
Right.
So can you share anything then regarding renewables and what that also relates to pipelines?
Sure. So on the no new infrastructure front, there is, the gas companies would like to build a new compressor station in Weymouth. And along with other allies, we are pushing back against that being built there. It's near a school, it's near wetlands, it would just not be a good place for additional natural gas infrastructure, but also it just sends the message that we're going to continue to rely on natural gas, where we really have the opportunity to switch to a more renewable energy supply. And so we're working hard to not have that built.
Well, one thing you said that was nice is that you joined with.
Right.
And there are great things that, organizations do on their own, and for Mothers Out Front, their leadership, but then also to partner to say, like, there's also greater numbers in this way.
Yes.
To work with other organizations. So it's great that a lot of your work is also there. Can you share any of the organizations that you partner
sure.
with?
Yeah, like Mass Power Forward is
nice.
one, 350.org.
Yes.
There's certainly, the Sierra Club, Environmental League of Massachusetts.
Oh, that's great.
Mass Audubon. I mean,
Yay.
everyone's on
That's
board.
good.
I
You
think
join with
to varying degrees
right.
on these issues, and in terms of the renewables, like
yes.
trying to increase our share of renewables in our electricity generation
yes.
in Massachusetts. There's an astonishing statistic, which is that we spend in Massachusetts every year $22 billion a year
in Massachusetts alone
on fossil fuels.
Wow.
And yes, just in Massachusetts. 18 billion of that 22 billion leaves our state. Wow. So we're paying other companies and other providers outside of Massachusetts to the tune of $18 billion a year. The more we can switch to producing our own renewable energy sources in Massachusetts, the more we keep that money in the state, the more we create jobs to create that infrastructure, and the more we better influence the environment. So
there's a whole sustainable economy dynamic just by supporting renewable energy.
Exactly, and more often than people would guess, the environmental goals and the economic goals are really in line.
They are.
And
they try to say that they're separate, and they really do connect. And there is a sustainable economy, and now at this time to recognize the environmental, the economic, they are in unison.
Exactly.
It's not an either or.
And that just is proven true over and over again. So one of the things that we really are pushing for on the renewables front is a legislative item that, again, our allies and we are working towards, and that is to increase what's called our Renewable Portfolio Standard, or RPS.
Yes.
Currently, there's legislation in place that requires the percentage of renewables in our electricity mix to increase by 1% a year.
Okay.
But that's pretty slow.
That's very slow.
It's not nothing, but we used to be leaders as Massachusetts. We were among the earliest to have a renewable portfolio standards, but now we're kind of falling behind because so many other states are saying, this is a great idea. It's a win-win.
We've fallen behind.
And so we're falling behind.
And that's not okay with Mothers Out Front.
No. So we're pushing for a 3% increase a year.
What can people do?
So I would say pick up your phone and pick up your computer and email and call your representatives at the State House.
Oh, that's great. State senator, state representative.
Exactly.
And say you want them to support the Renewable Portfolio Standard to 3%.
Yes, support the increase to 3% for the RPS. And that would be huge for them to hear from you on that. You would sound like you're in the know about it. And
people really have to understand that for all the organizations like Mothers Out Front, for all the work they do, that people also taking effort, not necessarily to join, but taking your message and saying, oh, here's an action we can do. So as you heard from Mothers Out Front, one of the most impactful things you can do to contribute to their message and to bring great impact themselves is contact your state representative and your state senator and let them know you support this, because the legislative leaders value when they are heard, when they hear from a constituent and they take action. So that's something that would have like a win-win. It really is it really supports many causes. I want to thank you so much for sharing about Mothers Out Front. At the end of the show, during the credits, we're going to have all the different ways that you can reach out. But again, from Facebook on Mothers Out Front in Brookline is one way, so that you can learn about how you can have a house party, how you can also learn at the library that has activities, and how you can get involved in so many different things for contributing to wherever you are, to Mothers Out Front. So thank you so much, Susan, for being here, and on behalf of Mother Nature, thank you, Mothers Out Front, for all that you do, and success to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.